like it, but we are really on the cusp of the doorstep of Pesach, uh, because we're not out there shopping, not comparing what we're making with each other, not talking about long guest lists. It's a different kind of Pesach, as we all know. And what I like to share with you today is that there have been advisories or recommendations that have been sent out from the Rabbinical Assembly, which is the professional organization of the conservative rabbinate. Rabbi Derma is going to be speaking about this at 7 o'clock this evening. I presume he's going to say the same thing as me. So
Okay.
I hope so. But I do want to let you know that what you're hearing, if it means something to you, and I hope it does, is not coming from me alone. Okay, it's coming actually from the Rabbinical Assembly, and I want to share several aspects of this with you in about an hour's time, maybe a little bit less. But first, I do want to make you aware that. I was just on the phone with Cantor Varshavsky. He'd like to begin a class online, a virtual class for people who would like to learn how to chant Haftarah, with the goal that we will be back in Shul for Shavuot, and that the group of people who learn how to chant Haftarah with him will chant Haftarah on Shavuot. Kain Yehi Ratzon, so may it be that we'll be back by Shavuot. That news will be coming out later today or tomorrow, and I'm delighted that from this group alone we'll get a core of Haftarah readers, chanters. All right, let me begin with technology. Okay, now there is an awareness, and everybody is in the same boat in this respect. We are all going to be celebrating a Seder in a way in which we've never, ever done it before. There are going to be very, very small Sedorim this year. One person, two people, three people, but the whole idea of having an entire family together is absolutely out of the question. If you're planning on that, I strongly suggest that you change your plans. That should not take place. Should not take place. But we also understand, that people have, especially now, because we have been living in this semi-quarantine, we have been really sheltering in. There is a need that we have a festival, that we have a special time. Otherwise, go know which day of the week it is for most of us, right? Most of us are losing track of which day of the week it is because we don't have our normal schedule of activities. Well, that kind of routine, that kind of dullness, even with virtual streaming like this, life can be dull. So with that, there is a great need. There's a great need to have something really special in our lives. And Pesach couldn't have come at a better time than it does this year, giving us an opportunity to somehow use the days before for something special, make sure the days of Yontif themselves are special, and to try and create some Yontif celebration. And I think we can do that. I think for those who are usually assigned the task of doing all this preparation, maybe there's a little bit of a sigh of relief that they don't have to make a Seder for 25 people this year. All right, next year, we'll get them next year. Next year is another game. So what the Rabbinical Assembly is suggesting is this: aware that this is a difficult time. And if we did let down our emotional guard a little bit, if we were honest, we would say that, okay, we're getting through the days, but the anxiety is ramping up. The numbers are making us more frightened. We're actually staying in a little bit more this week than we did last week. Things are changing, and we're going deeper into the rabbit hole every week. So having the opportunity, according to what I'll share with you, to in some way bring together people for the celebration of Pesach is psychologically, emotionally, spiritually important. Okay, we have these days. We've got to utilize them to the best extent we can. Now, I know for many of you, the use of technology is on Shabbat or Yom Tov is not an issue. God bless. All right, and that may be for most people, but if maybe I can make you feel better by saying that if you're using technology this year for the Seder, in other words, trying to create a virtual Seder and having people come together from different locations, know, first of all, that the Rabbinical Assembly is with you on this, that the Rabbinical Assembly, which tends on issues of Jewish law around Pesach to be quite conservative, the Rabbinical Assembly is conveying its support, its understanding that this is something that people may very well need to do, and therefore in the time of crisis, and by the way, that's a halachic principle. It's a principle of Jewish law. It's called B'shat Dachak, that at the time of emergency, and we are in an emergency, Jewish law can meld and shape in different directions. So I suggest to you that we take advantage of that, that we try to make sure, because we want people to be safe and we don't want to in any way override the protocols that are in place, and that we don't want to be isolated, that we use, if you choose, the video option in a way that will bring together people for Pesach. Now, are there rules about that? Yes, of course there are. It's the concept would be much like what we do on a regular Shabbat. For instance, we don't turn the microphone on Shabbat in the synagogue. It's on beforehand. Okay, it's there beforehand. Other things, you can leave an oven on before Shabbat. You don't put it on Shabbat. Right? You light the candles before Shabbat and Yom Tov. You don't light them on Shabbat or Yom Tov. So what we can do before Shabbat or Yom Tov is different than what we can do on Shabbat or Yom Tov. And that's always a rule of Jewish law. So the suggestion is, the recommendation, the guidance better is this, that we log on before Yom Tov. And if your device hopefully can remain on, wonderful. If it can't, I'll leave it up to your ingenuity to figure out how to handle that. Okay? But ideally, we should be logged on. If you're using Zoom, log on, leave it on. You'll have to, of course, extend your Zoom so that it will stay on for a rather long period of time. And make sure everything is in place for when you need it. I'm not the tech guy. I will tell you what I know about Zoom. You can put into a thimble, but I do know that you can start your Zoom before Yom Tov. And if you have a certain plan on Zoom, it will stay on for several hours. Now, in some cases, your families will have no problem with joining on in Zoom in different locations. In our family, it's going to be a problem. Our kids probably won't do that. But if your typical Seder guests are not in any way halachically encumbered about joining onto Zoom, then you'll share a Zoom experience. With that in mind, or whatever you're using, maybe it's FaceTime or something like that, whichever technology you have and seems to work best, in an attempt to respect the sanctity of Yom Tov. Remembering that what we want to do, however, is to spread out the Seder experience. I would hope that you would say to the people at your virtual Seder that they should all have a Seder plate in their own location. There should be a Seder plate at every location where people are joining you into your virtual experience. And they should have a full Seder plate along with matzah. And I'm going to talk about, when I switch topics, I'm going to talk about certain substitutes for our traditional items on the Seder plate, and I'll get to that. There should also be, people shouldn't be, looking into the air. There should be people that should have a Haggadah to follow along, to join in, and to participate. The whole idea is that if we're going to use the technology, let it be an interactive technology. For those who have families in which the issue of the use of technology on Shabbat or Yom Tov is a particular issue that family members may not be willing to take a more liberal position on this year, my suggestion is that perhaps you try to convince them that the second night of Seder, which is the second day of Yantif, which in the view of many people outside of Orthodoxy has a different level of holiness to it, because it is really not Yantif any longer. Remember, in Israel, on the second day of Yantif, here it is Chol HaMoed there. They're not observing Yantif in Israel on the second day. And we may want to take advantage of that. I'm going to try to convince our children that for this year that they could look at the second day as though we're living in Israel and observing Pesach as we would if we were in Israel. And I think it's a reasonable position to take in this particular situation. Let me stop there and, unmute yourself if you have a question, okay? Any questions?
You mentioned in your email something about selling the chametz.
I'm going to get, Susan, I'm going to get to that right now.
Okay.
That's where I transition to, okay? Any other questions about technology? Any questions about technology? Huh? Okay. So again, I will leave that up to you. You have that 1 year. You have this opportunity this year. Hopefully next year we'll all be back together with our families, extended families. Now, in terms of Kashrut recommendations, we're in a difficult situation. I was speaking with a member of the congregation earlier this morning, and she told me that, they haven't had a chance to go shopping for Pesach food because the stores, who wants to go into the stores? And certainly the stores in the Merrick Belmore area, I know if you're down in the Polo Club, you could probably find something in Boca Raton, at the Grove or something like that. But, and in Boynton, you can go down to Boca Raton. But the reality is most of our stores here are not well stocked with Pesach food. They're just not. And I would strongly advise that you under no circumstances go to the 5 towns and shop. Do not do that. It is the hotspot of hotspots right now on Long Island because of the disregard of portions of that community when they should have been taking precautions weeks ago. So if you go to the local Stop and Shop or whatever, there's not going to be a heck of a lot of choice. And frankly, at this stage of the game, I would urge you, I want to see you all next Pesach. I want to see you all next Rosh Hashanah. I would like to see you Shavuot, okay? Let's not put ourselves in any unnecessary danger. And we know going to a store is taking a risk. So be cautious about that. What I'm going to do is give you some guidelines. And if you have food in your home, this should get you by for the most part, okay? Maybe, obviously, it's too late to order anything online. You'll get it for Pesach Sheni, for the second Pesach. You all know that a month after first Pesach, there's Pesach Sheni. So that's for people. It's in the Torah. For those who couldn't celebrate the first Passover, there's a second Pesach a month down the line, which would be like the second week in May this year. So maybe, just maybe, we'll be.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
Hi, it's Allie Niger.
Allie,
Hi, I've been in contact with Larry Goldstein. He is working for Middle Neck Lot in Great Neck. And
right.
I made arrangements with him that I'm going to text him an order for myself and for Jill Davis probably tomorrow. He's going to pack up the order. I'm going to give him my credit card number by text. And he's going to bring it to me outside. And I'm sure if anyone else from the congregation is interested, I can put them in touch with him and he can make arrangements for that.
Thanks, Allie. If you heard that or not, let me repeat. Larry Goldstein is working with a kosher Marta, up in Great Neck. And if you can be in contact with him, I do understand, according to Allie, that he will make a delivery. Okay? So that's...
He's not willing to deliver to Merrick. Even though he lives in Merrick, he's not willing to deliver in Merrick right at this time. But if you go up to Great Neck, he'll hand you your bag.
Okay.
He'll have it ready.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Allie. Okay.
Also,
I'm going to talk about kosher meat. I'm going to talk about kosher meat anyway. Okay. Let me continue. I want to talk about that. In terms of getting ready and preparing for Pesach, everything that we do in terms of preparing the house for Pesach remains pretty much the same, with certain changes I will share with you, guidelines I will share with you, recommendations I will make with you. Look, we still need to go about, to the extent that we can, preparing our home for Pesach. And we have time. We have time to do that. We have time to prepare the kitchen. We have time to prepare wherever else, to clean out where we eat chametz. I mean, for me, I'm a trail of chametz. Where chametz is basically by where I am. So, but there's time ahead. There's 8 days, 9 days for us to do some preparation. I'm well aware, believe me, I'm well aware that most people don't have cleaning assistants in the house at this point. I said to someone, there's a crisis. There's a crisis. When in a home like ours, there is no longer cleaning assistants coming into the house. That's and of course that the nail salons are empty of people. That is the definition of crisis. It's there all around us. So I don't want to overburden you with preparing. So I'm going to give you certain guidelines. Okay. What we need to do is the following. We need to take care of making sure that the places in our kitchen, the countertops, that they're scrubbed down to the extent that you can clean a countertop. It shouldn't be that you have to labor too hard. I don't want anyone working too hard at this. Clean them down. If you'd like, put some aluminum foil as a covering over them, and finished. What else do you need to do? Look, how much do you want to work at cleaning your refrigerator? Obviously, you want to remove the chametz from the refrigerator. Obviously, if you don't want to scrub down the shelves, then line them with the aluminum foil so that they're covered, so that there's no visible remnants of chametz. In terms of an oven that you will use for Passover, the walls of the oven should be wiped down. If you have the self-cleaning oven, then you're good. Just put it on the self-cleaning mode, and that's fine. If you want, in terms of the stovetop, it's the same thing we've always done. You just put the burners on to high, let them burn for an hour, or a half hour to an hour, until the gratings are red hot, and they're kosher. They're kosher for Pesach. That's it. In terms of the dishwasher, run two empty loads through, and that's that. That's that. Don't worry if you can't get kosher for Passover dishwasher soap. I don't know where you can find it at this point. Use what you have. Use what you have. And that's that. Any questions there? Now,
I have a question, Rabbi.
Allie?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, I have a couple of questions. One is that my dishwasher is currently broken, and I'm supposed to get it repaired on Monday. So I normally would leave it for 24 hours before I do the quote-unquote koshering of it. But
Okay.
I need to
Okay.
start cooking, on Monday. So can I just, since I haven't used it since it's been broken, can I just run it through?
That qualifies as 24 hours, yes.
Okay, and regarding getting rid of all the chametz in the house, I have a
Well,
second...
I want to get to that. Okay? Let me build to it, because I want to share with you some, yes, obviously we want to do what we always do.
I want to share something. Excuse me, it's Victoria.
Right. Yeah.
First of all, I just wanted to go back to what you were saying about the 5 towns I live in. You can't even get into the stores. So don't even bother trying. Besides for your health, you can't even get in. They're so backed up. But the other thing is there's a bunch of products I'm sure you know about that are kosher for Passover without certification. It's through, the OU sends out a thing. So sometimes whatever dish, also Cascade a lot of times has OUP on it, all year round. There are products like that, but there's also with the OU certification, there are things we might have that are already kosher for Passover. So.
All right, good. And I'm gonna get to that. Okay. Let me suggest this about pots and cutlery, etc. Okay. Look, for those who have a kosher for Passover closet, and you have your pots and your pans and your cutlery and dishes, then obviously you're going to use them. But I want to take into consideration, and this is the position of the Rabbinical Assembly. This is not easy for some people to handle this. It's not easy for people to access the kosher pots and pans. It's not easy to bring them up. It's not easy to go through the process. So what we're offering is an advisory, a guidance that may make it a little bit easier for people who want to feel that they've done what they possibly could to observe Passover, and yet at the same time haven't overdone it, have dealt with Pesach, prepared for it to the extent that they're capable of doing, and should feel comfortable with that, should feel that they've done what they needed to do to observe Pesach. Okay, so here's what I would suggest about pots and pans. If you have a pot that you want to cook in, okay. Now, I know how to kosher a pot for Pesach. All right, I know how to kosher a pan for Pesach. And it's a process. It's a process of boiling. For a pan, it's a process of what we call libum, and making it red hot. Here's what I'm offering as a guideline. Take a pot. if it's too hard to access your Passover pots, take a pot, clean it out thoroughly. Don't use it for 24 hours, okay? Make sure that it's been, that you don't see any visible signs of any foodstuffs that are baked on it. And I don't mean to impugn anyone as a balabustic capability, okay? I'm sure no one leaves any foodstuffs on anything. But in the event that something slipped by you, so if you see it, then if you see it, say something. Do something. So if you have a pot, then clean it out, put it aside for 24 hours, and let it be. Next year, you'll work a little bit harder, hopefully with assistance. In terms of cutlery, do the same thing. If you have metal cutlery without the plastic handles and all that, then clean them thoroughly. Clean them thoroughly, don't use them for 24 hours, and you can use them. And the same would apply to non-porous dishes. Non-porous dishes, to be distinguished from earthenware. Earthenware, we can never make kosher for anything. If you have earthenware, we can't make it kosher for Passover no matter what the circumstances, okay? I don't want to think how bad it would have to be for us to say earthenware could be made kosher for Passover. I mean, that's Armageddon, okay? That's Armageddon. We're not there. God, thank God. So, but what we can do is take non-porous glass, as we always do, and you kosher it. You kosher non-porous glass, you clean it. Don't use it for 24 hours. If you want to take it to the real level, then let it soak for 24 hours in water. Okay, let it soak, and there you have a basic set of cooking utensils. The same thing, by the way, with the cooking, with the big ladles, the spoons, the this or that, the first serving forks. Clean them, let them sit, don't use them for 24 hours. Again, all this is out the window if you have your Passover stuff accessible and you just can get it 1, 2, 3. Okay?
Rabbi,
Yeah.
question. When you say clean it, should that be use boiling water, like pour boiling water on top of it?
I would do that. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. Where you can put boiling water over something, use boiling water for sure.
Hi, Rabbi.
Who's that?
Who is this?
Who is that? Who's calling me?
Say, who are you?
Hello,
Is that Gabe?
Rabbi.
Say, who is it? Say your name. He wants to know your name. Who are you?
Gabe.
Is that Gabe?
Yes, say Gabe. Yes, say your name.
Hey, Gabe. Hi, Gabe.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, Gabe. Okay, Gabe.
Okay, sorry.
Time for a lollipop, Gabe. So anyway, so that's what I would suggest in terms of the preparing of the kitchen. Wipe down the countertops, clean the oven, line the refrigerator shelves, use a pot, clean it, let it sit for 24 hours. If you can, put it in scalding water. If you have the instant hot, put it in hot water and let it sit there for 10 minutes and then take the water out of it. And with cutlery, you can clean it. You should clean it, not use it for 24 hours, and then also use the hot water if you can in cleaning it. Now, in terms of mechirat chametz, yeah, we still have to get rid of the chametz. We are still prohibited from owning chametz on Pesach. That doesn't change. That doesn't change at all. So what we put online, and Susan asked the question, we put online a form, and you can do it. You can sell your chametz on, or give us the permission to sell chametz online this year for you. It's all available on the website, right, Jill? Jill, it's all available on the website?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you, Jill. So it's all available there. And, or if you'd like, call me. Only 100 people do it a day to call me. So call me and give me permission, or send me an email about that you give me permission, or Rabbi Derma. Give Rabbi Derma some permission to take care of the sale of your chametz, okay? Because I want to make sure that he knows, he's fully versed in the sale of chametz. So call him for the sale of chametz. That's a better idea. So call me, call him. Anyway, all right. And of course, with your chametz, do what you normally do. We take a closet, put all the chametz in. We don't open that closet until we forget that we shouldn't open the closet. But we put it in the closet, and we leave it there, closed, and it shouldn't be seen. The Torah tells us clearly we shouldn't own chametz, and we shouldn't see it. We shouldn't see it. So mechirat chametz, the sale of chametz, takes care of not owning it. Not seeing it, you got to put it out of your sight. I can't help you with that. And then as we approach Erev Pesach, there is, of course, bedikat chametz that you should do. And what a wonderful thing to do virtually with the family. To do a bedikat chametz, to search for the house. In the very beginning of the Haggadah, there is the formula that is said when we do bedikat chametz. I know you don't have feathers and you don't have the big spoons, so do without it. Put some chametz around, go collect it, and you'll find in the Haggadah the formula for bedikat chametz. The next morning, right, Erev Pesach, we do the burning of chametz, the disposal of chametz. If you're not interested in making a fire because of your concern about that, then you can place it down in the garbage. You can put it in the toilet. You can do whatever you want. Just get rid of it. And there's a formula for what we say when bedikat chametz has been done. Now let's go on to food. I'm curious, how many of you at this point have a problem in terms of feeling that you're just not ready with the right foods for Pesach? If you can just put a thumbs up on the yeah, okay, that's the problem. How many of you are feeling that you don't have what you need, what you normally would want to have to be ready for Pesach in terms of kosher for Passover food? Okay, we got a lot of people. Okay.
Rabbi?
So, yeah.
All right, one more thing. East Meadow Kosher Butcher, we had ordered all of our meat last week.
Yeah.
And we called it in, and we also needed a few more Pesach things like matzah meal because we had bought other things, and they told us to call it in. We gave them our credit card over the phone. We pulled up, we opened our trunk, and they put everything in the trunk.
Okay. Thank you for that, Paulette.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Okay, so here's where you're going to want to pay attention and maybe take some notes, okay? Now, I want to start with the thought that this comes under the rubric of a guidance, an advisory for this year. And in some respects, what I'm saying applies to any year, but it certainly can apply to this year. This year, because there are limitations on product availability, and because I don't want you going to multiple stores to check out where you can get this and where you can get that, if you are unable to find an item that I'm going to mention below with a kosher for Passover label on it, with kosher for Passover certification, here's what you can do, okay? You can use the following food items without a kosher for Passover certification, okay? You can use the following food items without a kosher for Passover food certification. Okay. Baking soda. I still don't understand what you do with baking soda, but whatever. Okay? Eggs, there's no such thing as kosher for Passover eggs. Fresh fruits and vegetables, of course, we know that. Now, let's go on to meat. Let's go on to meat. I know that everyone says that, oh, I got to get my Pesach meat. Okay. Tell me what the difference is between Pesach meat and non-Pesach kosher meat. Do they do something special with the cow?
Called the price.
Huh?
The price.
The price goes up. Here's the only thing different, okay? It's been a long time since I've been in the back of a butcher shop, but it is conceivable that in the back of a butcher shop, they could have certain items there that are chametz, just around, maybe they're, whatever. I don't know why, but they might. When it comes to the weeks leading up to Pesach, there is a particular caution in making sure that in the back of the butcher shops where meat is cut and sliced and whatever, there is that no chametz is around at all. Having said that, I will tell you that this year I am not particularly concerned about kosher for Passover versus non-kosher for Passover meat. If it's kosher meat, that's good enough for me. If it's kosher poultry, it's good enough for me. If I could find kosher for Passover, that would be good. But I'm okay. I'm personally, and I've always been, by the way, this is not because COVID-19 has changed my mind on this. I've never understood the concept of kosher for Passover meat. I really haven't. And so I urge you not to make yourselves crazy because kosher meat is not labeled kosher for Passover. Okay. Now, and of course, if it's frozen, the same thing exactly. Okay. And that, by the way, pertains to every kind of meat except chopped meat. Chopped meat is different. Chopped meat, because it is, because they put things into chopped meat, there you want to make sure that your chopped meat is kosher for Passover. If you don't have kosher for Passover chopped meat, we've lived through worse. Okay. Then in terms of tea, Nest tea, who's it? Yeah. In terms of tea, regular decaffeinated Nest tea is perfectly fine. Unflavored tea bags are fine. They don't have to be labeled kosher for Passover. Unflavored regular coffee is fine. Unadulterated coffee that is pure is fine. It doesn't have to say kosher for Passover. Olive oils, pure oils are fine. Okay. Now I want to bring up that in pure oils, olive oil is fine. There are other kind of oils. There's sesame oil, right? Anyone use sesame oil? No. Okay. So olive oil is what you use. Anyone have a specific question about another kind of oil?
Safflower?
What?
Safflower oil? The Hollywood brand safflower oil.
I can't respond to that one. I don't know.
Okay.
Grapeseed oil, Rabbi?
Hollywood safflower is marked kosher for Passover because I bought it.
Thank you. Okay.
Is avocado oil okay?
Avocado oil?
Yeah.
It should be fine. It's a vegetable, right?
Yes.
Avocado is a vegetable. So there's nothing wrong with that.
Vegetable and peanut oil.
Coffee, Rabbi.
Peanut oil? Well, okay. That takes us to a deeper question. Will you accept on Pesach the consumption of kitniot? Those things like rice, peanuts, legumes, corn, okay, which the Ashkenazic community considered and still does consider kitniot and unusable for Pesach. There you decide. I mean, I spoke a few years back, I think it was 2015. The Rabbinical Assembly did come out with a decision that kitniot can be consumed on Pesach. Peanuts, rice, corn, all that stuff, okay? Why? Because there's no reason that it's considered chametz. There's no reason. Chametz can only be something that comes from the 5 grains which can be leavened. Rice, corn, peanuts. What am I leaving out? Rice, corn, peanuts, and legumes. There's no question that they never were chametz. This was an extension of the laws of chametz by the Ashkenazi community, not accepted by the Sephardic community. And by the way, the big news is that I will tell you that in the Rabbinical Assembly advisory for this year, it is offered as a recommendation that in light of the difficulty of this year, that people seriously consider consuming kitniot, okay? So that would mean peanut oil, that would mean peanuts, that would mean corn, that would mean rice. Again, for some of us, that's a boundary we don't want to cross, would be too difficult emotionally to cross. But nonetheless, the Rabbinical Assembly wanted you to know that if you felt you needed something in your diet that these could provide, you could do that. You could
Rabbi,
do it, and it's
Rabbi,
not unkosher for Passover. Yes.
What about canola oil?
Which?
Canola?
Quinoa.
Canola.
Oh, canola.
Yes.
I'd have to look at the ingredients of canola oil. I can't say off the bat. I
so
don't
we
think canola oil is typically kosher for Passover. Is it?
No.
No. Okay. And there has to be a reason. I have to look at that. Okay.
Okay.
so we always say next year in Yerushalayim, in Israel, kitniot is acceptable for the most part. So,
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Kitniot, even in the Ashkenazic community, there's becoming a broad acceptance of kitniot in the non-Haredi Orthodox community.
Rabbi,
Let me go
Rabbi,
on.
one other
Okay,
thing.
I'm giving you the list of those things that don't require a kosher for Passover label. So I said tea bags as long as they are unflavored, coffee as long as it's a pure coffee. Okay. Whole pecans, whole unground spices and nuts, OU*K raisins. You don't need kosher for Passover raisins. Kosher wine doesn't have to say kosher for Passover, though normally it will. Plain butter, salted or unsalted. If you find it, and you can't get kosher for Passover, use it. Okay?
Rabbi?
Yeah.
Rabbi, quick question.
Going back to the meat, what about like hot dogs and cold cuts? Like salami, bologna,
Franks.
hot dogs?
With salami, I would say to you, no, because God knows what the heck is in a salami. It's salami, unless it says kosher for Passover, I wouldn't use it. Hot dogs, the same, for the same principle. You're talking about foods that are the most impure foods that we consume. They put lots of stuff, lots of fillers in hot dogs and in salami. And the odds are that it's laden with chametz. And okay. So I didn't bring that up because there's no way that becomes kosher for Passover without the Passover label on it.
Turkey breast? Empire turkey breast?
Turkey breast is pure meat. I mean, you buy a turkey breast. Where are you buying a turkey breast?
Like the Empire brand. Doesn't that have,
yeah, of course.
it doesn't
of
have,
course.
it doesn't have
Absolutely.
impurities in it?
No.
Okay.
If you're talking about not if you're talking about the turkey breast that is really pure and turkey breast and without filler in it, okay? Because much of the turkey breast they sell has filler in it. So if it's pure off the frame turkey breast, of course it's fine.
You said decaf.
Let me go on.
What about decaf coffee, Rabbi?
What?
Decaf coffee.
Right. You said decaf tea is okay. What about decaf coffee?
Decaf coffee, I'm going to get to. Okay.
Rabbi? Canola oil. They asked about canola oil. According to
The answer was I don't see it as being kosher for Passover. Normally, I'd have to get back to you on that.
I just looked it up. It said the OU says canola oil is considered kitniot.
That's it.
Okay, so if you accept the use of kitniot again, then it would be permissible on Pesach. Okay? Let me go on, and I'll take another batch of questions in a few minutes. How are we doing on time here? Okay. The following foods, is this. The list of basic foods is ideally for pre-Passover purchasing. But you could purchase these on Chol HaMoed Pesach as well, okay? Pre-Passover purchasing, not on the days of Yom Tov. All pure fruit juices, pure. If you can find a pure orange juice, fine, okay? If you can find a pure fruit juice, fine. 1 second. Okay. Plain cheeses without added flavor morsels. Okay, that's very challenging. That cheeses to me are the most difficult of what we're talking about here, because you don't really find pure cheeses without some flavoring in it too often. So you've got to look carefully. If a cheese is certified kosher, that's that, and it has to be without flavor morsels. Okay, pure white sugar. You don't need Pesach sugar if it's pure white sugar without any additives in it. Quinoa is okay, absolutely permissible. White milk is okay. Now, I have particular knowledge of this because for a few years I used to do the hashgacha up at the dairy in Northport that closed. And I know what they do. I know the difference between kosher for Passover milk and not kosher for Passover milk. What did they do for kosher for Passover milk? They ran the line with hot water a few times, like you do with a dishwasher. That's all. They ran the water a few times so that all the pipes were cleaned out, so that there was nothing left of anything that might have been chametz. And then the Passover milk was processed. But what the Rabbinical Assembly is saying is that if you just can only find pure milk, you can use it, okay? And that would include the following: plain milk, and it would also go on to include, by the way, soy milk, all right, almond milk if you accept kitniot, almond milk and soy milk if you accept kitniot, eating the nuts, okay, non-flavored cream cheese without anything in it, without lox in it or whatever. Just has the ingredients of milk and cream, okay, and stabilizers. That is permissible. So if you can't find a kosher for Passover cream cheese, but you find the Philadelphia cream cheese, which is typically kosher, that's fine.
Rabbi, what about oat milk?
Pardon?
Oat milk OAT milk?
No. Oat milk, definitely not, because oats are the source of chametz.
Right.
Why did you say about
Oat-
almond milk? Almond milk, you said it's okay but if you accept kidneyot. But
Yes.
almond, when you make charoset, it's with almonds.
Yeah. So you can use it. You can use it for. Well, some people use almonds for charoset, but you can use it. You can use it as milk as well. Then non-flavored yogurt. In other words, you can't start using Chobani flavored yogurt. Okay, but if you have pure yogurt, non-flavored with only milk and bacteria, then that's okay. That's okay. If you can find kosher for Passover tuna fish, well, you have tuna fish with water, that's okay. Okay, that's okay. Maple syrup is fine, 100% maple syrup. Plain, now we get to coffee. Plain, non-flavored decaf coffee, as is plain, non-flavored regular coffee, is permissible. Pure honey, dried fruits, okay, are okay if they, so long as they don't have potassium sorbate. So long as they don't have potassium sorbate. Now, let's talk a little bit more about kidneyot. What if fresh kidneyot? What would that be considered? Corn on the cob, fresh beans like lima beans. Lima beans are kidneyot, okay? But they can, if you choose to not observe the laws of kidneyot, if you buy the kidneyot before Pesach, they can be treated like any other vegetable and consumed. Dried kidneyot, like rice, okay, and corn, can be purchased bagged or in boxes, and they can be used on Pesach. Frozen kidneyot, like edamame, okay? Edamame, corn. One may purchase bags of frozen, non-hechshered kidneyot. They don't have to have a hechsher on it. They don't have to have a certification of Kashrut. Corn, edamame, they can be purchased frozen before the holiday. And if you feel like you'd like to inspect what you're eating, that takes it to a nice, better level. But they can be used if you're choosing not to observe kidneyot. What I would say to you is this. Yeah, one second, Alan. What I would say to you is this: if you're gonna choose to use kidneyot this year, then you may want to say, okay, look, I'm going to use kidneyot not just this year, but for as long as I'm around. Okay. For those of you who say, I don't want to use kidneyot this year because that's not the way the tradition was observed as I was growing up, and I'd like to keep that tradition. Fine, I'm with you on that. But I have no hesitation, as I had no hesitation 5 years ago, in saying to you, there is no justifiable reason not to eat kidneyot other than the emotional negativity that we may have towards beginning to consume rice or beans or anything like that on Pesach. Okay, question?
Frozen vegetables?
Good.
They just need to be kosher? They don't need a KP?
They don't need a KP. They have to be vegetables that have a K on them at the very least, that have a hechsher during the year, but they don't have to be KP.
Okay, the OU has said in the past that because many vegetable companies packaged all year their vegetables with pasta, that because of that, they would need a KP. But I guess this year we're being flexible.
Okay. This year, yeah. I don't know what the OU is doing, but there is, as long as there is a Kashrut certification on the frozen, whether it's fruits or vegetables, and it says, pure vegetables, and it doesn't give you any reason to believe that there's chametz in it, then you can use it. Then you can use it. Look, a lot of this stuff is processed on lines that have chametz, okay? Some of this stuff is processed on lines that have chametz. But by and large, the amount of chametz is so insignificant. And there's a principle. There's a principle in Jewish law that applies for all of the year except for Pesach, which is called batel b'shishim, that something is nullified in a volume of 60 times its size. In other words, let's say I'm cooking chicken soup. I know, preposterous, but let's just say I was cooking some chicken soup. And at the same time, I was drinking a little malted, okay? And a drop of malted got mixed into this big pot of chicken soup. Well, should I throw the chicken soup away? Not during the rest of the year, because it's batel b'shishim. As long as the volume of the soup is at least 60 times greater than the drop of malt that I dropped into it, then it's fine. There's no problem with you using it. Pesach, there is no such thing as batel b'shishim, okay? Pesach, you don't get any leniencies. So if you buy something before Pesach, and with the intent of using it on Pesach, then the laws of batel b'shishim apply before and they apply during. So you can use it. You can use it. Let me conclude, okay? Let me conclude, unless there's some pressing questions, okay? Any pressing questions? Okay.
I have a question. One question.
Please.
Lactate milk.
Lactate milk?
Milk that has lactose enzyme added to it for those that are lactose intolerant.
And lactose intolerant.
Unflavored.
Well, that's, by the way, who's asking the question?
Anita Cohen.
Anita, okay. Anita, look, in the case of a lactose intolerance, it's always the case that Jewish law would say the following. If you can do without it, do without it, okay? But if you can't, you can't. Now, what do they add into milk to make it tolerable for those who are lactose intolerant?
They add the lactose enzyme, lactase, and the enzyme that lactate.
Okay. Is okay. So I think we need to look into that, okay? There's no particular guidance on lactose intolerant, substitutes. I'm going to look into it and I'll get back to you on that. Okay.
Thank you.
I don't see any leniency this year, but there's always a leniency in terms of Jewish law where if something is intolerable to you and you need to find a substitute, you find the substitute, and what you do is you isolate that substitute. In other words, it doesn't become a part of everything that you're consuming on Pesach. So you keep it away from everything else that you consider to be kosher for Passover. But I want to check that out, and I'll get back to you on it. Okay?
Thank you.
Now, the following, these must always have kosher for Passover labels, no matter when. Baked goods, for sure, okay? Unless you're baking in your own house. Farfel has to have kosher for Passover label on it, because you want to make sure that it's not chametz. Matzah goes without saying. Any product containing matzah goes without saying. Matzah flour, matzah meal. This all must be kosher for Passover. Why? The concern is that if it's not, there might have been some that they weren't observing it carefully enough, and maybe the matzah had the wheat had an opportunity to leaven. So all of this has to be kosher for Passover. Passover cakes. All frozen processed foods. Now that would include ice cream and ices and things like that. They have to be kosher for Passover. Candy, sure. Chocolate milk, absolutely. Herbal teas. You can't just use any herbal tea because there's always something added into herbal teas. Soda, yeah, I think this is the year that I go without Coca-Cola for the first time in God knows how long, because I don't see us having the ability to get kosher for Passover sodas. Vinegar also, because of issues of chametz, and margarine also has to have kosher for Passover. Now here's the real leniency. I'm going to read it carefully because I want to make sure you hear it carefully. Many of us have already opened products in our homes that are chametz free, but used in the course of normal year-round cooking. If one is able to ascertain that no chametz contaminated the open product, or at best just a very negligible amount, it is possible to use such products during Passover this year. So, let's say you had, for instance, you can't get kosher for Passover. What would be an example? I don't want to say not rice.
Rabbi, I have a giant thing of cream cheese that I had bought from Costco.
Okay.
That I used,
kosher, it's kosher?
It's kosher, and I purposely used a plastic knife for it in case I needed to use the rest for Passover.
That would be an example. That would be an example. Okay. Same thing. I mean, you really don't need to run out to the store to get a fresh bottle of olive oil. Don't run out to the store to get olive oil. If you have a bottle of olive oil, use it. So long as somehow you didn't manage to put some chametz down into the olive oil. Things like that. If you have foods that are open, that have not been in any way mixed with chametz, then you can use them.
Is mayonnaise different for Passover?
Yes.
Say again?
Mayonnaise.
Mayonnaise. Mayonnaise, I'll get back to you on. Mayonnaise, my impression is it will, I want to get back to you on mayonnaise. I don't want to say anything without really looking at that issue carefully, because it's such a common food item that I want to make sure we know what we're talking about with that.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
If you do a Zoom Seder, then you don't really have a Seder plate. Like I wouldn't necessarily have the Seder plate. Would that be okay, basically, if I Zoom with my kids?
Well, why not have a Seder plate?
Well, because I don't know that I'm going to go to the store to get, some of those.
Okay, so let me talk to you about that. Okay, I'm glad you brought me back to that. Okay. Look, some of the things on the Seder plate are going to be hard for us to obtain this year. Okay, we know that. So, and I had this, and I don't know why I didn't see it. Okay, number one, on the Seder plate is parsley, right? Usually parsley for the purposes of karpas. You don't need to run to the store to get karpas, to get parsley. Do you have a potato? Use a potato. In Israel, many people use a potato for karpas. Karpas is something that grows from the ground. That's it. So you could use a potato. Further, let's go further. Along with that, maror. Don't go running to the store to get a root. If you have some horseradish, use the horseradish. Just use horseradish. In terms of the shank bone, you're not going to the butcher to go get a shank bone. So what do I suggest? Symbolically, what you can do is you can use the bone of a chicken bone, and just burn the chicken bone, okay? Burn the chicken bone, okay? In terms of in terms of the egg on the plate, well, that's eggs. Hopefully, everyone's going to have. So you
Right.
burn an egg. Okay. Charoset, you're going to make the charoset. Charoset can be just a little bit of apple, some nuts, some walnuts, and then the wine. Or use and that's it. So the only problematic items on the Seder plate are going to be, you don't want to go running to the store to get parsley, and you don't want to run to the store to get a root from maror. So work around that. But try to have a Seder plate for sure. Try to have a Seder plate.
Thank you.
Do you have any other ideas if you don't have any bones for the zroa?
Say again?
Do you have any other ideas? I don't have any. I have chicken cutlets for Passover. I don't have any chicken bones for the zroa.
Well, some people say, I don't, beyond that, I can't, I mean, it should be some kind of bone. Should be some kind of bone. If at that point, whatever you choose is as good as anything I will say, because I don't know what to say.
Okay.
What else can you use instead of horseradish for the maror?
Oh, anything that makes you cry, a tear. Okay. So if you want, they've even suggested using a piece of lemon. Okay. If you want to use a piece of onion, okay, you can use a piece of onion. Anything that makes you shed a tear is going to be fine this year.
Rabbi?
Thank you.
Yeah.
If we use some of these options this year because of the COVID crisis, what effect does it have on the level of kashrut of our Pesach dishes for next year?
Okay, good question, Ali. So what you'll do is, number one, you can always kosher dishes for next year. You can do that. You can kosher anything for next year if you felt you had to kosher them for next year. You're not talking about a lot of people. You're not talking about a lot of utensils. So, in a limited way, you can kosher them next year as you would normally kosher anything for Pesach next year. That doesn't change.
Well, I have specific dishes that are just for Pesach. I don't kosher mine.
Dishes can always, as long as they're non-porous, they can be koshered. They can
So
be
I usually have
koshered.
So spatulas and stuff like that. If it's plastic, I should just get new ones next year.
Plastic can never be koshered for Passover.
Yeah, that's why I have separate ones for Passover. So for this year,
they can never be koshered. But again, what I've suggested here, what the Rabbinical Assembly suggested, there's nothing here that is so out of the bounds that you have to worry that nothing here would be considered. Nothing here would be considered in normal circumstances anything less than kosher. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of these things that I've suggested are guidelines that you could normally use in any event for Pesach. Okay, you can normally buy frozen foods before Pesach and use them for Pesach. That's normally, if you look at what I've sent out every year for all these years, it does allow for that.
Can you talk about fish?
Fish, well, yeah, fish is, you can look, fish of course is always okay. You can have filleted fish. There's no question about that. You can certainly have filleted fish. But once again, it's a question of where did you get the fish, and who prepared the fish. You want to be careful around that issue. You don't want to be, you want it to be, if you go to a fish place down in Freeport, well, that's different than buying fish, someplace else. you don't know what else is in these stores in Freeport. Well, you have a good idea what's there, so you might want to stay away from that for these 8 days.
Rabbi, I have a question about, I have people living in like 9 different locations that we're going to do this Zoom Seder with. So I was trying to find a Haggadah that we could all use. And obviously it's not going to be the most optimal participatory experience. I'm not sure, actually. It might be. We don't know.
Yeah.
But is there an online version that this way everybody can have the same Haggadah in their location that you would recommend? Because I'm worried that if I choose one on Amazon and send everybody the link, they may not get it. And this way we can all sort of literally be on the same page.
I don't know of which Haggadot are online, so that you can download them online. Let me.
Rabbi, I've seen some information about online. I can send you some for you to take a look at.
Okay, you want to send it out to the congregation, Jill?
Well, do you want to look first to see?
Yeah, let me see it. I know, for instance, today I got something from the Rabbinical Assembly about our Haggadah. Now, if you give me a second, I will answer your question and let you know if that's available online. Here it. No. We'll look into it and we'll let people know. We'll email a few of these things to the whole congregation, so people will have an answer to it. But the Rabbinical Assembly may have their Haggadah up online at this point. Let me check in and I will answer all these questions and get back to all of you tomorrow or the next day. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Susan Gutman is on. Hi, Susan. Good to see you. Unmute yourself. Okay. So everybody, look, tonight there's going to be another one. I suspect Rabbi Derma is going to cover much the same ground. Let me wish everybody a Chag Kasher v'Sameach. We'll send out an update to the update, okay? Jill will send out an update to the update so that everybody will continue to keep everyone informed. There are some questions. This is still very much a dynamic story as we put this all together. But again, please don't go running out, to places that may be exposing you to this disease. We don't want it. We don't want this for anybody. And as I get more information, I will share it with all of you over the next few days. Okay?
Rabbi, is this being recorded that we can send it? Because one of my kids, Evan, is very concerned about all of this, so I want him.
Jill, it is recorded, right?
It is, and we can supply a link in the next email about Passover.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening so patiently.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. For listening patiently.
Thank you,
Rabbi.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you, Rabbi. See you before have a Chag Kasher v'Sameach. Okay? Chag Kasher v'Sameach. We'll get back to you with everything we left uncovered.